Now it should work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now it's working. Yeah.
Okay.
How are you going,
Nice
Professor?
to meet you.
Yeah.
Good. I just stepped out of a conference, so.
Is it all right for after 1 hour? We got 30 questions. We try to push through as many as we can, but if you run out of time, we just do next time, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Is this video or how? What are we doing?
No, it's we have a group of the club DS club members working at the back. My wife is also among them. They put us in air. They decide if when we're in air, when we're on the ground. Yeah. So once we're ready, then we can start. Yeah. But it's mainly based on the book,
right?
Yeah, it's recorded as well. Yeah, they live for the members, and they after they edit, they put in the media and through all different platforms. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah, the main purpose is to get your book on the most sellable listed in China once it's rolled out. Yeah, that's the main purpose. Yeah. So
all right. Yeah, let's start.
All right. Okay. Good, Professor. How are you going? Really grateful to have you here for the interview.
Nice
your
to meet
Chinese
you.
fans are all so excited. I'm Fei, representing the Chinese DS Club. We're a group of Chinese fans of you and your new book, Lifespan. Today is the Chinese New Year Eve. You probably know that. Yeah. Maybe you'd like to say hello in Mandarin. Do you want to give a try to your fans in China?
I can say ni hao, but that's all I know.
Well done. I'll give you credit for that. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. All right. So your book, Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to, has been doing very well on many book outlets, registering on their bestseller list. Congratulations, Professor.
Thank you very much.
The book spans from a 4 billion years old single cell evolution to today's cutting edge longevity research. It's an amazing book. I read it and I loved it. Yeah, how long did it take you to write a book like this?
Well, it's been 30 years of research, and then I started writing it about 10 years ago, and I wrote a draft, and the problem was the science moved so quickly that I had to keep rewriting it. And I'm very glad that I did, because in the last 18 months to 1 year, there were some very big breakthroughs that I could write as I was making these discoveries. And so the reader, as you will know as a reader of this book, the discoveries are right on the page, right in the book. And so, yeah, 2 years of full-time writing, but 10 years of getting ready for that.
Wow, that's very impressive. So I found some of the illustrations in the book. It's very unique and interesting. You designing that, or you involved in? Is that your idea of this?
Yeah, the designs are mine. The only thing that I drew in the book are the headshots, the pictures of people in the back. So you know all those people that are in the back, the cast of characters, we call it. Yeah, I drew each one of those myself. But the big illustrations are from a very talented lady, Catherine Delphia, one of the best illustrators in America. And I would tell her what I would like her to draw, and then she spent a whole year drawing these pictures. In the end, she wanted to quit because it was so much work. But I told her it would be worth it. And I agree, these are amazing pictures.
Wow. So when is the Mandarin version coming out? And who is the publisher?
Gee, I have to look it up. The date is the second half of 2020. Yeah. And let me see if I can find the publisher.
Sorry, I think my research says CITIC. Is that right? The Chinese publisher CITIC. CITIC.
So that sounds right.
Okay.
Right now, there's a professor who's writing a foreword to the complex Chinese edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there will be a really nice introduction from somebody who has worked on aging for many years in Hong Kong, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Hey, DS fans, did you hear that? The Mandarin version come out in the second half of 2020. Get ready. I know you all can't wait. Me too. So the publisher is CITIC, 中信出版社，非常好的良心出版社。我书架上有好几本书都是中信出的。就 put the book on your must-read list. If you want to live long and healthy, if you have loved ones you care about, you must read the book and let them read the book as well. Many people don't realize how fast we are moving towards understand aging and curing aging than we used to. So, Professor, let's start with the question, why we age? There are many theories and hypotheses. What's your understanding?
Yeah, well, there are many causes of aging that people have proposed, but I think that there's one singular cause that makes all of the bad things happen. And what I propose in my book, it's called the information theory of aging. The idea that the information that we get from our parents is lost over time. But the good news is that there's a backup copy of youthfulness that we can tap into, and we can reset the cell.
Yeah.
And so that the information to be young is still in our cells. We just need to turn it on again.
Yeah. So you have been famous for discussing aging as a disease and seem to have spent much of your professional career researching the topic of aging. So when did aging as a disease begin for you?
Well, about 5 years ago, I was looking up the definition of a disease, and it said something that happens to people over time that causes disability and eventually death. And then I thought, that sounds just like aging. And then I turned to the definition of aging, and it said exactly the same thing, with one exception, that it happens to the majority of people. And that's a terrible distinction. If 49% of the world gets a disease, we call it a disease. But if 51% get aging, then we ignore it. We just say that's natural. And one of my arguments in the book is, yes, aging's natural, but what in our world do we accept if it's a problem, even if it's natural? Cancer is natural, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, these are all natural, but we fight against them. And aging is the biggest cause of disease. It is the main cause of all of these other diseases. So if we can slow down aging, we won't get cancer and heart disease and Alzheimer's. And that's actually the biggest bang for the buck. It's the best thing we can do if we want to have a healthy population. And we know what's going to happen to China and also the US if we don't tackle aging. We're going to have a lot of very sick older people who are a burden on the entire economy.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So in the book, in the Vivo Primordium, you talked about survival gene circuit. And I like that concept. And you believe we nowadays still carry those ancient genes?
We definitely carry those genes. Yeah, so we found these genes originally in yeast cells, the organism that you use to make beer and bread. And those same genes are in our bodies. We have 7 of these protective genes that come from the original life forms on the planet. And what they do is they sense our environment, and if times are tough, if we're not getting enough food, or the temperature isn't right, or we have to run, we exercise a lot, then they will protect the body. The problem with today's society is that we have too much food, we don't exercise, and these genes lay dormant. And so my work is all about how to make them active again, get them to work to slow down aging for us.
Yeah, I see. So is there any evidence or proof that the survival gene circuit still like a dominant or still control our life or play some part of like you said in the yeast and in our body as well?
Yes, so we find those 7 genes in our genome, in our bodies. And people have looked at those genes, and if people have certain versions of that gene, those genes, they live a long time. There's a study of many thousands of people in China, and they have certain variations of these genes. And those are the people that go on to live over 100. But most of us are not that lucky. We don't have those variants of the gene. And so we need to do extra work. And that's what my book is about. How do 95% of us live as long as the people that naturally live to 100?
Okay, excellent. So you're trying to convince people that age is just a number and aging is treatable disease, essentially stating that we can say no to aging. Does this mean we humans should be able to stay young forever?
Well, there's no reason why we couldn't live forever. There's no law of biology or physics that says we have to die at 100. That's just how we evolved. We didn't need to live beyond 100 to be able to have enough children to replace ourselves. But there are many species that live 200, 300, whales, sharks, and there are trees, of course, that live to, 2,000 years. So it's possible. It's just a question of figuring out how do they preserve their information in their cells when ours wears out. And we think that it's possible to turn us into those species that live a long time, now that we have a good handle on what causes aging.
I see. So that's like your research find that epigenetic disruption cause mice aging. I think that's Nobel Prize level of discovery. To be honest, I personally, that's what I think. Yeah. So what's the epigenome and how it's related to DNA and aging?
Good question. So the DNA is the main part of information in the cell. So the DNA, it has the genes on it. There are about 23,000 of those. But you can't just put DNA in a cell and expect it to work. It has to be controlled. And the control systems are called the epigenome. So we have the genome and then the epigenome that controls that. And that basically says that one gene should be switched on, say in the brain, and another gene down here should be turned on in the skin. And that epigenome keeps us healthy. And what we found is that we lose this epigenomic information as we get older. And if we accelerate that process, we get accelerated aging. And we can now measure that. We can measure the changes in the epigenome. And we can make a mouse 50% older if we want. And then now we're looking for ways to reverse that process and backwards, yeah.
So can this also explain to human aging? You think the finding is also applied to the human aging process, like the epigenome?
Yeah, well, I think so, because there's yeast cells, and then there's worms and flies and mice. These all have the same cause of aging. The epigenome goes wrong. And the evolutionary distance between a yeast cell and a mouse is huge. That's at least 1 billion years, maybe longer. The distance between a mouse and a human is much smaller. So we've tested 99.9% of the distance, yeast to mice, and we just need to test it in humans. But as I mentioned before, these genes that control aging in our bodies, or that exist in our bodies, they have a name, and it's called silent information regulator. And those silent information regulators, in their name is the clue. They regulate information. And so we think that their inability to preserve that epigenetic information is also what's determining whether we live to 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100. And if you have really good genes, these really good silent information regulators, then you don't even have to exercise and eat good food. You just naturally live beyond 100.
So the silent gene regulator you mentioned refers to sirtuins. Sirtuins.
Correct.
The sirtuins? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So the SIR in sirtuin is information regulator.
Yeah.
And the tuin comes from gene number 2.
Thanks. So that's just exactly as you said in the Reddit answer one of the audience question. You said, do we count as animals? When I read that answer, I'll say, oh, wow, that's such a penetrating answer. If research work on the mice, on the other mammal animals, yeah, then we're very close to make it work on the human. Yeah, no, I find you're absolutely right. So
yeah, well, it's not easy making a drug because it has to be very, very safe. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things don't work in humans, but the fundamental biology is very similar between us and mice. And we've done some tests in horses and in dogs, and we see that it's working there as well. So we're getting very, very close. Oh, and by the way, we have made some sirtuin activating compounds, and they've been tested in humans, and they worked. They actually worked against a disease called psoriasis, which is a skin condition.
Yeah,
and so, you know, we've come almost the whole way to what we're trying to achieve. The only thing that is stopping us is time and money, but we will get there.
Yeah, that's one thing I find. Are you friend with Elon-MUSK? Okay, you two very similar, same mindset. Yeah, give me money and time, I can achieve anything. No, maybe you can trade off with your secret longevity recipe with him for a ticket to the moon.
Right. Well, he needs help if he wants to go to Mars.
That's true.
Mars will accelerate your aging.
Good point. Yeah. So you just mentioned the current MD. They tend to treat the chronic diseases. It's building as a building 9 dams to 9 tributaries. What do you mean by that?
Well, if we don't tackle the root cause of aging, we would call it a band-aid solution. You're just trying to stop one, but then something else will kill you. But you need to stop all of the causes of aging to live a very long time. And that's why I think preserving the information in the cells will take care of these other causes of aging. Things like loss of stem cells, senescent zombie cells, problems with metabolism, mitochondria, lack of energy. If we can just go upstream and put one dam, and that's enough, then that makes the drug that we're developing very, very powerful. And all these other problems should go away if we're correct.
So you reckon one day, say in the future, we should be able to have one magic pill to slow down, stop, or cure all other aging-related chronic diseases?
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I would have said it's impossible. I thought that two years ago, I thought that we needed to build all those 9 dams on the 9 tributaries. So we would need lots of medicines. But as I describe in my book, we think we've found a singular cause and that we can actually reverse aging with one treatment.
Wow.
And so I think if that works in people, it could be possible to truly reverse the age of the body. And then we wouldn't need those other medicines.
Wow. So you said in a number of interviews and in your book that you have drawn your blood test and the result demonstrate a reverse of your own biological age from 57 to 31.4. So how accurate is the result of a biological indicator, age indicator?
Yeah, well, that test isn't very accurate. It just says that I'm going in the right direction. There's a more accurate test that we just recently have in the field, as scientists. It's called the epigenetic clock. And that one is very accurate. That's within 5% error of your age. and I want to take that test, but I haven't had time to do it yet. I've been traveling. Today I'm a speaker at a big conference in LA, but yeah, that clock is the most accurate.
So the epigenetic clock, okay. So it's technically available or commercially available, or it's public have access to it, or?
In the US, there's a company that's selling it called Elysium Health. I don't know if anyone in China is currently selling the technology. We're working in my lab to bring the cost of the test down, because right now it costs about $300 US to do one test, and I'd like to bring it to millions of people. And the good news is that you can slow your rate of aging. It's very clear now that if you do the right things in life, with your diet, with exercise, and some of these supplements that I talk about in the book, that you can change your life's trajectory and slow it down.
Yeah, but as a way of monitoring, you need a guide or indicate from time to say you're in the right direction. I think that.
Well, exactly. But some people are scared to know the answer. But it's important that you know, because otherwise you won't act on it. And it's important to know that 80% of our lifespan is in our own control, and only 20% is genetic. The rest is epigenetic.
Epigenetic, yeah, that's right. So versus the blood test, you reckon the DNA test or epigenetic test is much more accurate?
Right. The test that I took, it's a good sign that I'm healthy. But yeah, it's not proof that I'm actually younger. These are biomarkers of aging, right? Things like blood sugar, testosterone, liver function, inflammation, these things, yeah.
All right, thanks. So you're a genetic scientist in Harvard University, first known for your discovery on the anti-aging function of resveratrol. We got a lot of resveratrols at the back, the red one, yeah. So you said in the book that you take 1 gram every morning. How does it benefit to our body, the resveratrol?
Right. So we discovered that resveratrol is an activator of the sirtuin enzyme, number one. And that is one of the enzymes that, when activated, slows down aging. And people who have very, very active SIRT1 genes live a long time and are healthier. So resveratrol gives us the benefits of having a very active SIRT1 gene. The way it works is that the resveratrol molecule, when you eat it, it turns on the enzyme. So the enzyme is doing activities to repair the body, but as you get older, it becomes very slow and doesn't work very well. So when you give resveratrol, it's more active. And we've tested it in mice. People have now done clinical studies in humans, and it actually works the way we said it would, which is to improve health, improve blood sugar in the body, lower inflammation, and even protect against cancer, we think. There was an interesting study just last week that came out from another lab, and they found that resveratrol is triggering the same mechanism as fasting. So when we don't eat, our body produces free fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, and that turns on this enzyme by binding to it and making it go fast. Resveratrol is mimicking those fatty acids in the body. And you can also get those fatty acids from olive oil.
Olive oil, yeah, that's what I'm going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so by eating a gram of resveratrol for the last 12 years, I've been essentially eating olive oil without the calories.
Well, that's good. How does it relate to your later discovery of NAD booster, the resveratrol and the NAD booster? They go hands in hand, or?
Well, so the enzyme, it has two activities. One is the accelerator pedal, which makes it go faster, but it also needs the fuel, the petrol or the gas, we would call it here in America. And so resveratrol plus NAD makes a super active enzyme. with the accelerator pedal and the fuel for the enzyme. And the problem is that as we get older, we have less and less of this NAD molecule. And so the enzymes become very slow and we become older and we lose the information of the epigenome.
Yeah. So a lot of people have tried to understand how reverse aging works from a layman's point of view, looking for tangible evidence that we often use to evaluate its effectiveness. Typically, we hear things like a reverse 7 signs of aging referring to the skin. And I bet the hair loss is also a result of aging. So the anti-aging process you've mentioned or you have discovered, does it include curing the signs of aging, include the hair loss, skin wrinkles, all that?
Well, theoretically,
to be honest,
yeah. We haven't succeeded in regrowing black hair in our studies in mice. But in terms of preserving hair and keeping it from going gray, yeah, it certainly works in our studies. You know, I'm not a clinical trial, but I'm 50 and I have no gray hair and I have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, because I start concerning about my hair loss because when I was in primary school, my classmate can pull myself off the ground and just pull my hair. Now I said, don't touch my hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the hair and the skin, these are just like the other organs in the body. They should be protected against aging. Now, we haven't tested the reset switch, the reversal of aging technology. We have a gene therapy that can reset the clock. We haven't tested that in the skin yet or the hair, but we want to.
Yeah. So speaking about the energy and movement, another sign of aging has often slowed people down is arthritis, as you just mentioned. Yeah, I was wondering how would NRO, NMN, those molecules, have benefit to arthritis in mice or potentially in humans?
Yes, so the sirtuins are anti-inflammatory, and in a clinical study, NMN reduced inflammation in the body, and so then I think that there's a good chance that the combination of resveratrol and NMN that I take is keeping my body's inflammation low. And that's a very important factor of aging. My father is taking NMN and resveratrol. He's 80 and he has no health issues and he has no aches or pains. He's very active. He's stronger than me when he works out at the gym. Yeah.
Oh, that's a proof. How long has been on the regimen prescription as you give to him?
Same as me. He's a scientist, so you know he can make his own decisions. We both started resveratrol 12, 13 years ago, maybe more actually, more like 15. And then we both started NMN about 3 or 4 years ago. But he's been very active. He goes to the gym and exercises 3 times a week, which I'm sure is helping his health as well. And the other thing that he does that is helpful is that he skips at least 1 meal a day. So he's hungry for about 16 hours. And that we know is very good at activating the sirtuins.
So how many meals do you take a day?
Maximum 2, sometimes 1.
So number 3 is not the rule. Okay, yeah.
Definitely, I don't agree that having 3 full meals is healthy.
Yeah. So you always disclaim that you are a PhD, not an MD, and you don't give medical or supplementary recommendations. However, you openly talk about that you and your dad on the same recipe of metformin, NMN, and the resveratrol. So why have you included in the metformin? Do you believe that benefit?
Yeah. So metformin has been tested in 100 million people, and looking at least 100,000 of those in the United States, looking at their health, it's clear that people who take metformin have some protection against cancer, heart disease, diabetes, of course, and even frailty as they get older. And so many doctors believe that metformin slows aging. And we collaborated with a scientist to show that it extended the lifespan of mice and kept them healthy. Yeah, so I take it because it looks promising. It seems to be very safe as a drug goes. And I'm getting older every day. And my father is very healthy, so
I think you stopped getting older.
He's getting younger. He really is. He's super healthy.
Wow. So you think people should consider the mix of the recipe rather than single source of, say, NMN alone? Now, I don't force you to induce you to give a recommendation. I just have, in your case.
Well, so I'm different than most people because I'm a scientist and I've been testing my body and my blood for 15 years. And so I know if something's helping or not helping. Most people don't have access to those sorts of technologies. So they have to be very careful that they don't do any harm to themselves. So that's why I don't ever recommend it as well. That said, I think it's only fair that people are educated and that they can make their own decisions. In the case of metformin, because it's a drug, it's quite a potent drug, I think that should be done under medical supervision, especially if people are already taking medicines, because it's hard to know what the combination of the medicines is in the body.
Yeah. So do you like Chinese food?
It's my favorite.
I bet the food satisfaction is anti-aging, right?
Satisfaction?
Yeah, food satisfaction.
As long as you don't eat too much.
So do you measure and restrict your daily calorie intake?
I do. I try to eat just dinner and a very small lunch.
So I was impressed by the phrase survival gene circuit, as you mentioned a number of times in the book. So how does the intermittent fasting, the IF, relate to the survival gene circuit and therefore benefit the longevity?
So when you're hungry, your sirtuin genes will get activated, just like exercise. And what's happening is your body is thinking that it could die. There's a problem, could run out of food. And so it turns on the survival network, survival circuit. And if you don't exercise and you always eat food every meal you're full, then your survival circuit never is activated, and your body just goes down in health and ages more rapidly.
Yeah. So I guess you're not a big fan of keto diet due to the excess amino acid intake. So how does the meat or animal protein affect the longevity?
It's very, very clear. It's clear that people who eat plant-based diets live longer, tend to live longer. It doesn't mean that you have to only eat vegetables. But I think eating a lot of meat and a lot of fat from animals is clearly not going to make you live longer. It will help you build muscle and you might feel good for a few years. But when you reach the age of 80 and you haven't turned on your survival circuit, you will be much older than someone who has eaten a plant-based diet.
So some MD suggest skip breakfast could increase the chance of cardiovascular disease and gallstones. Do you have the same concern?
I don't.
Always skip breakfast.
Yeah. There's a lot of evidence that intermittent fasting or periodic feeding is very healthy. Now, it could be bad for gallstones. I'm not a gallstone expert. But the new evidence in the scientific world is that it's really beneficial to skip a meal. Yeah, and it doesn't cause cardiovascular disease. That's an old idea.
Yeah, you said the exercise raise NAD levels modulates all the three longevity regulators in the right direction. So what kind of exercise do you do and do you recommend?
Well, any movement is good. Walking is good. Standing is good. I have a desk that I stand at every day. But the best is to lose your breath, to do high impact exercise. HIIT, high intensity interval training. And so do 15 minutes of a lot of fast running or pushing. That's the best, the most efficient, because you won't wear out your body, you won't wear out your joints, but your body will get the signal that there's a problem and it will fight against aging. Bicycling, riding, even running is better than nothing. But the good news is you only need to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes of workout a few times a week to get very similar benefits.
Yeah. So do you wear smart devices to monitoring body health? And what data and parameter do you monitor?
Yeah, I wear a watch that monitors my movement and my pulse. I also have this thing here, which is called an Oura ring, O-U-R-A, and it measures my sleep and my pulse and my movement. And those things give me a really good guide as to how much I'm moving and how well I'm sleeping. And good sleep is important for longevity as well.
Yeah. So your research showed expression of Yamanaka factor in mice reset useful gene expression. In the retinal ganglion cells, also restored vision of old mice with glaucoma. Has this result been published or still in the preprint?
It's hopefully going to be published soon. We submitted it to the journal Nature, and we're revising the manuscript now after the comments have come back, very positive comments. So I'm hoping if everything goes well, it will be published in the first half of this year in the journal. But if anyone wants to read the paper, it's posted online at a website called BioArchive, which is BIORXIV.org. Yeah.
So can you explain to us what's the Yamanaka factor and how the Yamanaka factor expression turn an age dysfunction cell to a useful functional cell?
Right. So Yamanaka factors are a set of 4 genes that were discovered to act in combination to make stem cells out of regular adult cells in the body. And so Shinya Yamanaka from Japan discovered this, and he won the Nobel Prize in 2012. And using those genes, you can take a skin cell from in the mouth and you can turn it into any other type of cell, a nerve cell or a kidney cell. That was a great discovery, but what we've discovered is if you use 3 of those 4 factors, O, S, and K, you don't use the M because that causes cancer. O, S, and K turned on in the eye can actually reverse aging and allow old mice to see again, or mice with glaucoma or with damage to the optic nerve.
So has this kind of research been extended to the humans?
Not yet. We are working on that. Hopefully in the next 2 years, we'll do our first human study treating glaucoma.
Wow. So in the book, you said for longevity, so far the best bet is the gene therapy. So you give an almost promising pathway to restore use by cellular reprogramming. So to many of us, it's like a story in the science fiction. How does cellular reprogramming work for longevity or use restoration?
Well, we don't know exactly how it works. We know that it can reset the clock in the body and that there's a backup of the epigenetic information somewhere. We don't know where, we just know that it works. And we're looking for what are the pieces of the clock that allow it to be wound back. We found a few genes that are important, but exactly what the information is, whether it's in DNA or in RNA or in protein or something else, we don't know that yet. But there is a backup copy of youthfulness in the cell.
So it's inside each of us. It's inside our
every
body.
cell. Yeah, every cell. There's a youthful
Every
copy.
cell.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking about the AAV injection, I think you mentioned in the book. So is that promising in combination of a cellular reprogramming? Is it like they go hand in hand, like the AAV injection?
Yeah.
That
also, the AAV is a virus that carries the 3 genes into the cells. So we put an AAV capsule, a cover around the genes, and then we put them into the eye. And the AAV delivers those genes into the nerve cells in the eye. So the AAV is just the delivery.
Yeah. Right. So I remember about 10 years ago, also people rushed to have the HGH, human growth hormone injection. And some media just boosted it as a like ultimate anti-aging approach. But 10 years down the track or 15 years down the track, it's not as big as we thought or solved our aging problem. Is there something you can make a comment on, or are you familiar with the area?
Yeah.
Human growth.
Yeah, I mean, so there are about 50 leading scientists around the world that study aging. I don't know any of them that thought that growth hormone was the solution to aging. Mm-hmm. In fact, we thought it was the opposite. We still think it's the opposite because growth hormone signaling is very low in long-lived animals. And so what's important is that people can listen to scientists and not listen to the internet because there's so much bad information out there and people are trying to make money. Yeah. And that's why I wrote the book, because I'm a leading scientist and I wanted to get the real information out there and not just have it from people who are trying to make money.
Yeah, sure. So aging is not listed on the International Disease Code Book in 2018 by the WHO. Has the FDA listed aging disease as a treatable condition yet?
No, they're very slow. They're interested in the idea of calling aging a treatable condition, but they want some proof that it is treatable. And so we're working on that.
So, do you know any other country has have aging listed as a disease, as a treatable condition in the government regulation?
No country has, but the first country to do that will benefit. They will get a lot of investment, and their population will have access to drugs that can slow aging, or at least seem to slow aging, like metformin.
Mm-hmm. So what the potential benefit if say CFDA that in China officially acknowledged aging as a disease? So you think you're concerned about the overpopulated? We get overpopulated, which we already are.
Well, I'm not worried about overpopulation. I think if China did that, they would be the healthiest and richest country in the world because you can hopefully slow down people getting older and sicker, and a large part of the economy here in the United States is 17% of the economy. I don't know in China, but it's a large part, and it's only going to get worse with people getting older. I would be so amazed and happy if China declared aging a medical condition. But what about population? Well, the calculations are that population will go into decline as women become more in control of their bodies and more educated. And across the world, population is declining. The growth, it looks like it will level out at about 10 or 11 billion people and then start to come down again. And so we're not talking about immortality. We're just talking about people living an extra maybe 10 years of healthy life. And that will easily be managed economically by people being productive for longer and helping the family, educating the children instead of being looked after by their family.
Yeah, I agree. Historically, seems the healthier the country is, the wealthier the nation is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And also the other way, as you become healthier, you get wealthy, and wealth brings health.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you want to do is focus on health, and everything else will happen after that.
Mm-hmm. So there are some conspiracy rumors on the internet saying the major resistance for promotion aging as a disease are from those pharmaceutical giants. You don't have to answer the question because I don't want you to get in trouble or lose money. Yeah, it's just like it makes logical sense because the pharmaceutical company, they are the ones, they might want you to live longer, but I don't think they like you to be healthy. You know what I mean? Like they need to sell their product. so that kind of conspiracy seemed to me just like the petroleum company. They don't like, they're against any new energy or alternative source of energy development. So
well, it's a nice idea.
It's just rubbish.
But they can't stop it. Somebody's going to make these drugs, and if they don't make them, then they're going to lose. Right? They can't stop it. It's a conspiracy theory. It's total rubbish. But for example, GlaxoSmithKline bought one of my companies, and they were very interested in making a longevity drug. There are many large pharmaceutical companies working on aging, because if they don't succeed, someone else will, and all the money will go to the other company, not to them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, just like if Ford or Mercedes-Benz, they don't develop the EV cars, ELON-MUSK will. Yeah, someone else will. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And Mercedes-Benz cannot stop Elon Musk.
Yeah, true. So you nowadays spend a lot of time stepping outside your lab and research, touring around, doing interviews like today, giving public speeches and so on. Do you enjoy the perceived celebrity status? How do you keep the balance as a scientist and the celebrity status?
Yeah, it is becoming like that. I now get recognized in the street, and people want my autograph.
Oh, you are.
Yeah,
seriously.
It's a bit of a celebrity, but I'm a very shy person. Deep down, I don't like to be in crowds. So I'm not seeking fame and fortune. I do like teaching. So I enjoy being on stage and talking about science and making people excited about science. But I don't need to be recognized on the street to be happy. In fact, I'd prefer not to. I have 3 kids and my wife, and I don't see them enough. And I'm trying to find ways to spend more time and be a better dad at home.
Yeah. I have 3 too. Yeah, Chloe, Amy, and James. So 2 girls, 1 boy.
Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
great. Yeah. Kids are the best. Actually, the only way to immortality is to have children.
Yeah, being around with the one you love for a bit longer. Yeah, true.
Yeah, right.
So the Chinese biophysicist, you may have heard the Dr. He Jiankui.
Yeah.
Yeah, was recently sentenced to 3 years jail for creating the genetically editing twin babies in 2018. So, do you want to make a comment? What's your attitude towards the embryo, CRISPR embryo studies activities?
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about it in the book. I think that it was just, it was done under secrecy, and it wasn't done with a lot of safety in mind. Mm-hmm. If it can be done with safety proven in a legal way, I don't see any problem with correcting genetic diseases. That would be the best use of the technology. I think that trying to prevent HIV or AIDS.
Yeah, that's right. They knock off the
Yeah, that was not a good choice because the chance of getting HIV in China is 1 in less than 1,000. Mm-hmm. But the chance of having a problem with the children from this procedure was much higher, right? But so it's all about weighing up the risk and the reward. And if we learn that the risk is low, and if it's a disease that will cause pain and suffering of children, I think it's a good idea to use the technology to help them. But it was too early, I think, and the HIV was not a good path to start with.
Yeah, I think many countries, they probably just simply ban the CRISPR embryo study or the activities. Yeah, that you can't play with the embryo with the CRISPR. So that may not be the solution from my point, because the driving is there, the drive forces, the people want to live longer, live healthier, and the money is there, and if they go together, they can do whatever they want secretly. And one day, if the big news come out, we don't have the mechanism in place, that could be a big trouble. Just like the bushfires in Australia, if they don't have mechanism in place, then everybody gets shocked, and they start thinking of, we got to stop this guy, and that could be more trouble.
Yeah, you're right. We need to keep doing this out in the open, for sure. And it's just unfortunate that this happened. But I think in the long run, it will be usable across the world. The CRISPR technology is so powerful. Parents will demand that we use it.
Yeah. So the traditional Western medicine, they tend to study organs separately and treat the organ disease separately. As you said, building 9 dams for 9 tributaries. However, the traditional Chinese medicine, the TCM, believes that all our organs are interrelated and led by qi. Qi becomes weaker when aging, and therefore our organs tend to become weak and ill. I think it happened to be in line with your theory that many chronic disease is caused by aging.
Yeah, I love that philosophy. And in my book, I criticize Western doctors for only treating the symptoms of aging and not doing enough preventative medicine. But I know that Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, and doctors care more about the whole body than Westerners. And I think that's a really great approach, and it's the future of medicine in the Western world as well. It has to be. It's too expensive to treat diseases after they've already happened.
Yeah, I remember even when little, my parents, they teach me to practice the Tai Chi and just to build up the Chi with the time, with your age. Yeah, yes. So you're a serial entrepreneur and disciple of innovation. You demonstrate that the investment in you and your team is a success, and you call for public attention and investment to tackle the aging disease. So don't you and your colleagues finding the funding not enough, support not enough, or?
Well, for research, it's very difficult to get money in the United States. I'm always writing for research grants to the government to get funding. You can never relax as a scientist. You get a grant and then you have to start writing another one. For companies, I've been lucky. I've started about 10 companies or 12. Some of them have done very well, but it's always hard to raise money for companies, especially biotech, because it's risky and it's long-term. Yeah. Faye, I can't hear you anymore. There you go.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So as you said, the model shows the healthier the countries, the more the economic growth goes healthier. So if the model runs well and convincing, the government should invest more on the healthier population, healthier nation, so then the economic growth will come. I think you already.
Well, they should, but most people have the old-fashioned way of thinking that medicine is there to treat diseases, not to prevent the process. And so it's most of the research dollars goes to medicines to treat disease and not to treating the cause of those diseases, the root cause, which is aging. Less than 1% of the research dollars in this country go to understanding the aging process.
In the US, which is the #1 in the world, only less than 1%. Wow, so we have a long way to go. If we increase, just imagine 1% more, how fast we can get our anti-aging solution. Yeah, true. Yeah. So do you or Life Biosciences, the company, collaborate with Chinese companies or institutes? Do you?
No, not yet. Not yet. We'd like to.
Yeah. So if a Chinese student, a PhD student, wants to work in your lab, what academic background and characters do they need to have as a candidate?
Oh, well, we accept very smart students. The student who did the big breakthrough with reprogramming the epigenome, this work we discussed earlier, he's a Chinese student.
Is it Yuancheng?
Wan Cheng Lu.
Yeah, you mentioned
Lu.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to have such smart students in the lab, and we've had about 5 Chinese students in the lab, and they've all been great.
Wow. So what kind of academic background or characters do you looking for? Apart from being smart?
Yeah, we look for students in genetics and molecular biology and bioinformatics. Being able to analyze data is now a really important part of biology.
So you have striven for 25 years to 30 years in longevity research. What's the overall prospect given another 25 years?
Oh, well, in 25 years, we'll have many medicines that the doctors can use to slow down your aging and even reverse your age. Yeah. 25 years ago, we were studying these genes in yeast cells, and now there are probably 50 companies, maybe 100, working on human medicines, and some of them are very close to being approved. So yeah, it's a very exciting time. The next 25 years will be even more important than that.
Wow. Yeah, I think your background gets a bit noisy, so we'll get a wrap up quick.
Yeah, the conference just got out.
I see. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's great for talking to you, Professor. Yeah, I think people who are used to pseudoscience are exactly the people who need to be told about the real science. And we need the more legit scientists like yourself stand up and talk about important work. So when is your next trip to China or Australia? Have that on your calendar?
Yeah, I don't have a date set, but it will be after the book comes out towards the end of this year. And I will let everybody know on social media.
Yes, please, by all means, yeah. We'll wait for you at the airport.
Great. Oh, thanks. I have a newsletter as well, which people can sign up for, and I'll be releasing new findings and news.
Yeah. Do you want to give a link, or do you have a website?
I do. It's LIFESPANbook.com.
Yeah. Yes, today is Chinese New Year Eve. I bet your Chinese student and colleagues, they are giving up on the intermittent fasting and the calorie restrictions for sure. Yeah. Are you in Beverly Hills at the moment? Or you're?
Am I what? In Beverly Hills?
Beverly Hills. Yeah.
Yes, I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah, and I know there's a famous celebrity, a Chinese restaurant, Mr. Cho.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe check that out if you, and for dinner maybe it's a good restaurant, a Chinese restaurant.
Right.
Maybe
How do you know How did you know I'm at the Beverly Hotel?
Oh, sorry, Susan told me. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, Susan. Yeah, she wrote to me say you'll be by the Pacific time, so we just there.
Right.
Yeah, I was concerned maybe you're not free at the time, but then it works out.
Well, this is where they hold the Golden Globe Awards. And so
Okay.
I was just on stage.
See, I said you're a celebrity. You just proved it.
Yeah.
Well, so how much you charge for autograph? We need to get your autograph as many as we can. Yeah. So basically, yeah. Our congratulations on all the achievement you have achieved and everything you have done. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really nice to get to know you. I appreciate everything, and for reading the book. I'm glad you liked it. It seems to be doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I don't intend to keep you longer. Happy Chinese New Year. Thanks again for accepting my interview. I hope I can interview you again when we at your 150 years birthday.
Or sooner than that. Yes.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Professor.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.